Here comes every thought that's ever come into my head, unfiltered, today on the Manspace. Welcome to the Manspace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome, Spacemen. Prepare yourself for total, brutal honesty. Matt's going to kick us off by ripping up drink stores.
You remember how we were talking about not wanting to be gas station people?
It sounds so bad. Like I go all the time. I was like, I'm not a gas station person, though.
And my apologies to anybody who listens that goes to the gas station and does this. But since I purchased this, I've been swinging by for I keep forgetting the name of it. Is it the Way Homer? Yeah. But dude, every time I'm in line behind two people for like 10 minutes because
they're doing
some tobacco product and freaking scratch offs. Like, dude, get your crap and get out of my way. I just want to drink.
I seriously, my kids are always like, there's always someone buying lotto tickets. I was like, I know, man. It's that makes me want to do the little documentary thing. Like we'll do a little series on drink stores and we'll just go hang out and interview people. Like, what makes you think it's a good idea to do your scratch off ticket right then?
Yeah. I know. Or the people that bring them in, like 50 of them to cash out. And I'm like, does it not occur to you that that's going to take a long time? And there's like one dude behind you. Just let me go first.
Well, and they do it at like 4 or 5 in the evening when everybody's stopping on the way home. Do it at noon or do it at 2 o'clock when there's no one there.
Yeah.
Also, as a side note, I mean, Matt, this isn't helpful for you, and Mike, you won't like either of these things, but because there's no QT by you, Matt. I just tried 2 things at QT that are like at least limited time right now. One was basically a kolache, a jalapeno cheese kolache. Dude, it was good. The other thing was
up here.
It was a pretzel wrapped brat or beer brat. Ooh, it was good.
Nice.
Gas station food.
What?
Beer brat.
Beer brat.
I was going to say that place that I thought was a QT. It's another stupid one-off. Like my whole area is just one-off gas stations. But there is one I was seriously contemplating next time you're here. It's 25 minutes away. And it probably sucks. But eat up like the whole time you're here. Dude, just meet me at the QT.
Why not? It's not like we do anything else of benefit.
So I was talking to, Jenner after you guys left. And she said, how was it? And I said, well, this morning, Rob pointed out that, or at some point that his favorite part of the trip was the fact that we had been to like 6 QTs and none of them were repeats.
It was solid.
Yeah, she thought that was hilarious. That was the highlight of Rob's trip. He's frozen again, so
yeah, I think he's gonna drop. That's
although
for the video, does it still show the still shot?
I wonder
on the YouTube video because that is a glorious shot. So if you're listening, head over to YouTube and just look at Rob's face.
Just look at Rob's face. It's pretty good. It's got a nice angle to his head.
This is what active listening looks like.
And he's gone. So here's my, because this was kind of, since normally Rob would do this part, but he's not here. So here's my, where this came from is talking to someone, and honesty, as they put it, is like the most important thing. Like if you're going to be in any relationship, romantic or otherwise, like you should be honest at all times. And I have talked often since, like, this is not new for me. Like I've done it since becoming a therapist. That one of the mistakes I think we make is I think we get married and we forget that like politeness still has a part in relationships. And I believe fully that not every single thought that pops in my head needs to be shared. And I generally, when I talk about this with clients, I have reasons for why that's true and ways that I've learned, like, oh, right. Here's why it's good that I didn't speak my mind in that moment. But this guy just he disagreed with me clearly. And again, right, like honesty above all. And so for me, my wondering in bringing this up was one, like maybe one of you could or have, I don't know. I'm just curious what you guys think about this. Like, what role does honesty play within a relationship? Is there such thing as too honest
I
within a relationship?
I was going to say that at least the way you're describing it, it's like maybe borders on unfiltered expression of whatever's going on in my head.
Which is like when I interact with people like that in my experience, I feel like, well, you're just giving yourself permission to be a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not usually that polite when I phrase it, but that's like you're not talking about constructive anything. You're just talking about that ability to be unfiltered. And well, I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm just and so yeah, like I think you're right. That is how I see that.
I wouldn't call that honesty then,
Why?
because I don't think that's like, it's kind of the, like, if you think about, like we were saying before, if it's whatever story's in my head is going to come out as is, rough draft, and I'm going to call that honesty, then what I'm saying is every single one of my automatic thoughts is true,
Mm.
instead of giving myself some time to like ask myself maybe more important questions, which is what is it about what you're doing or what's going on between the two of us that is causing me to have this thought, and first, what does that reveal about me?
Yeah.
And I think that people could say, honestly, I'm having a really hard time with what you're doing right now, right? And I don't know if that's because that needs to change or because I'm,
Because
wrestling
I'm
with
in a
something
place.
internally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably honest. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But
Mhm.
just coming out and saying, it's a super presumptuous place to be, right? To say, whatever assessment I make of you is true. So I'm just going to tell you instead of, hold on. Like I had a supervisor one time that talked about anytime you're in a situation like this, ask yourself, is what I'm going to say true? And, if it's true, then okay, 1 point. Is it helpful? And if it can meet those two criteria, then communicate it. But like in therapy, there's all sorts of stuff that's true, right? Like the most basic one that, gets repeated through all sorts of different modalities of therapy is, if you think more positively, you'll feel better, right?
Yeah.
Super true. But telling somebody who's like just lost a spouse, hey, if you think about the memories you had with them, you'll probably feel better, like not helpful at all. Right. So
Yeah.
I think
Telling the person
there's,
swimming in depression. No.
yeah, but I think
Just
sometimes
focus on
people
something
that
positive.
adopt the attitude you're talking about are actually really fearful of intimacy. And this is a good way to say, um, like, I'm going to have a lot of control over the distance and closeness between me and you. And I'm going to place like such a high bar on it. Like, I'm telling myself I'm brave by just saying whatever I think. I don't have any
Mhm.
fear of disappointing you, but it's like, that is half the equation of a good relationship. You need to not be so afraid of disappointing somebody you can't tell them what you actually think and feel. But if you also don't have the capacity to feel how that impacts them and be affected by that, then good luck with a healthy relationship. You need both of those.
Yeah, and I think that's um like that's the thing that I've struggled with some people lately is trying to get them to see the way it impacts the others. Um they just which it is a hard thing to see. And most of us don't like to. And it's funny that you brought up intimacy because The interesting thing about the, those, like, I'm just going to speak my mind no matter what people, is they actually think that they are very open, and they are very, like, I mean, you can't get more intimate than this. I'm sharing every thought I have with you. But I think you're right. Often those thoughts serve to keep distance between two people. Like, yeah, you might have that thought. And that's the example that I usually use when I give clients was being frustrated with Jenner one day because I was cleaning by myself, and why am I always cleaning by myself, and blah, blah, blah. Well,
She's the
it
worst.
was it was bathrooms, and I was cleaning by myself because I always clean by myself because it's bathrooms. I like cleaning bathrooms. I've done it pretty much most of our marriage. Like, she'll clean bathrooms, sure, but
It's your
most of the time it's
janitorial
me.
ancestry.
Exactly. The thing that I discovered that day was the whole reason I was frustrated wasn't because I was cleaning by myself. My boss, when I was still teaching, came in and basically called out the entire third grade team during lunch and basically told us, you haven't been doing this, this, and this, and you need to start doing this, this, and this. We felt that it was unfair and that she didn't give us a chance to, like, express anything or speak anything or give our point of view, just kind of, beat us up and then walked out. And I realized as I was standing there contemplating whether or not to go say something to Jenner, I wasn't mad at Jenner at all. I cleaned the bathroom like week after week by myself. No, I was mad at my boss. But Jenner was the one that like, that's what was in front of me. And so it's like, was the thought was the feeling I was having accurate, or was it true? It's like you said before, like, it's kind of presumptuous to assume that every single thought I have is truth.
I'll attempt to say this. We'll see if it kicks me out again. But
It will.
I think one of the things I talk about most when people say this stuff, we've talked about before. I've used this analogy, like, there's a difference between being blunt and being direct. Blunt is usually, I'm going to tell you something about you that isn't actually necessarily true. It's my perception, and it's probably going to hurt. Direct may also hurt, but it is clean, and it is usually about, like, well, this doesn't feel good to me. Like, I'm directly telling you this doesn't feel good. The only thing that we actually know for sure is I don't like this feeling. I can't actually say you're a jerk. I can just say I don't like this feeling. So if you want to share that thought, go for it, but don't share you're a jerk. And Matt's thing, I think maybe I've mentioned this before. I had a client once tell me, in situations thinking through, does it need to be said? He said he had 3 things that he would say. Does it need to be said? Does it need to be said right now? And does it need to be said right now by me? If it meets all those criteria, then you should say it. But even then, it's like, well, what actually needs to be said? Do you need to tell somebody you look fat in those pants? Or do you need to say, I feel really uncomfortable? That's honest. That I think you can share.
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing. Like, going back to Matt's 2 things of it was, is it true and is it helpful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, truth, if we want to get all postmodern, we can sit and argue truth.
What is truth?
Yeah. But the helpful, like, that one I think is, like, even that's a pretty subjective, right? Well, it seems helpful to me.
You should know that you look fat in those pants.
Right. But it is like, while I think that's, that was the thought that popped in my head, is like, even that idea of is it helpful is subjective. It is typically how I kind of gauge things myself. Like, does this help the other person in some way? Does it make them better at their job? Does it make them better in their role as spouse or as parent or as whatever child? Does it simply improve their day? Now, not everything is going to improve your day, right? Like, sometimes I've said this countless times on here, Sometimes the statement's just going to hurt. It's what you were saying, Rob. But it's a scalpel versus a butter knife. If you're going to make a 6-inch incision, I want you to use a scalpel. I do not want you to do a 6-inch incision with a freaking butter knife. Like, could suck no.
Well, I think too, and again, I'll try this, but is kind of, I think what, maybe it was you saying this, Mike, I don't know. Actually knowing, like, just saying what's in your head is not necessarily intimacy. I can say lots of vulnerable, quote unquote, vulnerable things to my clients, but it's not intimacy. I'm using that as a tool to get something that I need from my clients.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing as being intimate with somebody. Intimate is sharing something that is vulnerable and risky for me. It is not, I'm going to tell you something hard that you need to hear. That's not the same. And I'm not saying there's not a place for that, because sometimes there is a relationship to say, hey, I think I need to tell you this. I've observed this and you trust me and I trust you. So here's this. So I'm not saying never share. Hey, I think sometimes you're being pretty rude to these people or whatever. But if you're claiming that's intimacy, that's false. It can be, but oftentimes it's just an excuse to say, don't get mad at me that I just said this. I'm just trying to be intimate with you. Now let's take our clothes off.
It's funny. What you said just reminded me. When I was on my mission in El Salvador, I was serving in the last city that I served in. I spent 6 months there. And the guy that I was with when I got there, he'd been there, I don't know how long, probably way too long. And they told me, they're like, the area is a mess. This is the way that it was described to me before I got there. The area is a mess and your companion's a joke. We need you to go fix it. And I was like, okay, cool. It wasn't cool. I was upset, but I got there and like, I tried my best to work with this guy and tried to keep him doing the things we were supposed to do. And things were not getting better. And finally, after 6-ish weeks together, we were supposed to go into, like, I don't know, something to do with the lessons that we would teach. And because I think it was I hadn't done something, we were supposed to go into the stake center anyway, whatever. The guy wakes up on Monday morning, it's 9:00, and we were supposed to be there at 9, and we were a 30-minute bus ride away, and that's before he gets ready. And he wakes up and decides that, he's not going to go shower just yet. He's going to go ahead and just clean the apartment. Decides he wants to start mopping. And like, I'm watching it. I'm just like, I think I have to say something to this guy. And I super didn't want to, because I didn't want to be confrontational with him. But I finally did. Like, I got to that point where I was like, hey man, I got to say something, and went through it, and it did not go well. Like, he didn't talk to me for multiple days. But as you were talking about, I thought, yeah, that was a moment of vulnerability for me. And it had the potential, I'm sure there were things I mishandled about it, but there were certainly things he mishandled about it. I think, no, it had a potential to be an intimate situation where our relationship deepened and potentially grew as a result. And that is very different than just going to someone and saying, because at no point did I insult them. At no point did I say that you're lazy or you're this or you're that, because, like, it's funny, I would still argue those things were true. He was super lazy, but that is still a very subjective opinion. Like, other people might not have perceived him that way. I did. And so I thought, yeah, but I avoided saying to him those kinds of things. And I focused specifically on, like, yeah, man, here's things that we're not doing and we're supposed to be doing it. And like, I don't know, like, I said to him at one point, I'm like, I can't believe that you came here to do these things. Like it just doesn't, I can't wrap my head around the fact that you came on this mission to not work, to just sit in someone else's house all day. And it was a very vulnerable thing for me. Like I was really putting out myself out there, and like I said, it didn't end well. And like he was gone 10 days later. Um, and that was fine. Like I don't think I remember his name. I'd have to look it up. But yeah, there is a difference between speaking your mind and being actually truly vulnerable and potentially intimate.
Well, and I think what you're talking about too is maybe there are situations where, again, like Rob was saying, speaking directly, and I would say sometimes when somebody is stuck behind, like if you know who somebody really is and they're stuck behind a really like self-defensive type of wall, sometimes bluntness really does work.
Yeah.
And I think like not to reference Lord of the Rings for the 347th time, but that the scene in the movie where, you know, Bilbo and Gandalf are going back and forth about the ring, and Gandalf like does his big dark cloud booming voice to get his attention, and then like meets that right afterwards with like, hey, I'm trying to help you, right? I think there's a place for that. And I think amongst men, what you're describing is, I think sometimes we say calling somebody out, but if you're calling somebody up to standards that they have for themselves, or like a collective group of standards that, you know, they're a part of
and agreed upon. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that has a lot of purpose. And I think that the way you do it, that when you're calling somebody up, essentially it's like, you're better than this. What are you doing? Right.
Yeah.
And that, whether you say it that specifically or not, the emotional message is that, right? I care enough about you to say this, instead of I'm judging you because of what you're doing, or I'm arbitrarily using my emotions or my standards to call you out and try and coerce you into some change that would benefit me, and I don't even know how you feel about it, right? Like I think those are the situations that really don't work. But I've heard a lot of guys say, I can think of times where somebody would chastise me really hard and I felt loved, right? Or, you know, women saying like, I want that girlfriend that is like, that loves me enough to say brutally, honestly, hey, you look horrible in that, right? Or whatever it is, right? So I think we all, that's probably intimacy, where it's the love and the connection is totally established. And so the call up is, it's understood as that. What you're talking about at the beginning is like, we don't even have that in our relationship, and I'm just going to call you out, probably out of fear that like you think something about me you're not saying and I can't handle that.
Yeah. So that's interesting that you like, because at one point with this, some people I've been working with, they've the question was posed, like the reason they weren't being direct with the guy who believes in honesty above all else was because they didn't have that relationship with him. And they're like, so what do we do? And certainly I can see it from their point of view. Like, yeah, if I've got a better relationship with my kid, then I might go to my kid and say, hey, you know, like, I mean, I don't know. I can't see myself doing that now, but I think once upon a time I might have. But then I also think it changes once the person is asking for honesty. Like if you've got a problem with me, Matt, and you're talking to Rob about it because Rob's my brother and we've, longer relationship, but then I'm sitting there asking you for honesty, then I think, well, yeah, at that point, you take me at my word, you give me what I'm asking for. But it is, I do think I like that idea of calling up versus calling out. Because even in that, like that scene with Gandalf and Bilbo, he's not trying to shame Bilbo at all. He really is trying to help him. And I think being able to communicate that is a crucial thing. Being able to say, hey, this is why I'm bringing this up. This is why this feels important to address.
Go, Rob, before you get cut off.
Yeah, I was going to say, your face looks like you got something to say.
There was a glorious moment, by the way, that will only be captured on YouTube, but we told everybody who was listening to jump over to the YouTube video because, yeah, this look on your face like, and you're just frozen forever.
It was perfect.
Really, here's all I'll say really fast. I always feel like I want to temper this because I listen through the ears of the one guy who's listening, being like, see, that's what I'm saying is that means I'm doing this. I'm not trying to shame them. I'm just telling them honestly. It's like, no, you have to be like what Gandalf did in this. He wasn't like, Bilbo, you look fat in those pants. Like it was this moment where he had to impose this thing to say, dude, pay attention, and then pulled him in. And in that context, Gandalf was above Bilbo, like Bilbo. Like
Careful
there
with
was, Gandalf knew more. Gandalf is in a position of authority. That is not the case for most people that are listening to the show. It's like you're not probably in a position of authority. That doesn't mean to say you should never do that, because sometimes it really does need to be when there's been this intimate trust between the two of you to say, hey, pay attention. You need to hear this. That doesn't mean to say, hey, you're an idiot. That's very different. Gandalf didn't call Bilbo an idiot. He was basically saying, hey, pay attention. And so then he's like, now I have you. Like there's a big difference in those two things. And I think we're too quick as humans to justify our behavior so that we can keep doing what we're doing. And so I wanted to clarify, like, you're not, if you're listening to this, you're probably not the exception that we're talking about. You are probably the one being like, hey, tone that down. You don't need to always say what's in your head, because it's probably an interpretation of why you feel the way you feel and an explanation of it rather than the actual thing you're feeling.
Well, and I don't know, going along with that further, I think as I've been reading different articles to, try to improve and learn and just whatever, keep growing, I guess. Oftentimes,
Whatever.
it's fine. Oftentimes I'll read stuff and I'll think, oh my gosh, this person would really benefit from what I just read. Like, man, boy, do they have this
Rob,
problem.
I got an article for you.
Yeah. And I caught myself like 2 or 3 days in a row where that was my thought process. And I caught myself and I thought, no, like I need to be looking at me. And so to me, if you're hearing this and you're thinking, wow, my neighbor sure needs to hear this, maybe, but maybe how much do you need to hear it first? Like, just assume for a minute that you have some version of the problem we've been talking about. And how do you address it? How do you say, oh, yeah, I can see how this is what they were talking about in that episode. And so maybe I need to look at how I approach these kinds of situations or these kinds of interactions. And I think particularly, I think this, when you're looking at the dynamics between like parents and children, I think this comes up a lot with children or with like parents, like the way we interact and address our kids often is You're just not thinking, you're just not, and there things where the kid hears, you're an idiot. Yeah, I can't believe you'd be so dumb. Why would you do this? Instead of hearing what they need to hear, which is, hey, this is the mistake you made. Let's talk about how we fix that mistake. They just hear the negatives of it. And so, yeah, being aware of how you deliver stuff. So anyway, that's my thought, I guess. That's my takeaway. Yeah.
Dude, we did it all in 33 minutes.
That's pretty impressive.
So then
Makes you wonder what we do the other 20 minutes.
I know. People are like, why don't you just do this every time, you idiots?
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, hey, is that really what you feel? Or you just calling me an idiot?
This is why, what is it, D-Dubs? Is that his name?
Yeah, D-Dubs.
This is why he's like, or someone else, get to the point.
Exactly. Well, then I guess we got to the point. So share what's in your heart when it's appropriate. Don't be rude. Oh, I was gone for half of this. So then come back next time and catch us on the Manspace. Thoughts and feelings.